Segment tonight, testifying before the Senate Homeland Security Committee yesterday, Undersecretary for Intelligence Francis Taylor said this about ISIS possibly crossing the southern border into the USA.
There have been Twitter, social media exchanges among ISIL adherents across the globe speaking about that as a possibility.
And why not? As we saw with the Central American children, it's not difficult to illegally cross the southern border into the USA. Joining us now from Washington, Miss Laura Ingraham. Now, before we analyze the border terror situation, I want to play you soundbite from Bob Beckel last night on The Factor. Roll it.
The threat level of ISIS. We're all scaring people to death. My son said to me before he went to college, Dad, should I be worried about ISIS? I said, absolutely not.
So there are some that are downplaying the ISIS threat. And you say?
Well, I know that the world's going to come to an end when I say this, but I see and understand what Beckel is saying, and let me tell you why. I think we have to learn about what happened. 13 years ago, our nation was under attack. We had a lot of vulnerabilities, Bill. You've discussed them at length on this show, right? Vulnerabilities on the homeland. We have vulnerabilities on the border today. We have these really horrible, brutal people who've been fighting a conflict with each other, a tribal conflict, essentially, for 1,000 years in Iraq. We lost a lot of good men and women in the Iraq War. We could debate that on and on and on. I was a huge supporter of the Iraq War. I believe that we have to be extremely careful how we get involved again in another Middle Eastern conflict. We're weaker than we were 13 years ago. Our country is more pessimistic than we were 13 years ago. China is growing stronger, not firing a shot, not being involved in military conflicts. I think this is what is going to be required to truly defeat ISIS and destroy ISIS. I'm not sure the American people, frankly, or our economy are going to be all in. That's a very big concern of mine.
I think the beheadings, as I said, mobilized or galvanized public opinion, at least in the short term, but Americans do drift. However, what I'm concerned about is our government. And, you know, you heard Jay Carney saying, oh, no. Look, let's just admit the mistakes, all right? Admit the mistakes. That the first Iraq war, probably we should have done that differently. I mean, not that Saddam Hussein wasn't a threat. He was. But, again, if we had to go back in a time machine, I don't think we'd do it the same way. All right, Afghanistan. Again, Karzai government was corrupt. It didn't help us. We lost a lot of brave people there. And then the Bush goes out, and then we get a new president who continues to make mistakes. He pulls everybody out of Iraq. He signals what they're going to do in Afghanistan.
Right.
He doesn't.
Bill, we got to remember where the American people were, though, right? In 2006 and 2007.
But we need good leaders. We have to get good, smart leaders.
Of course we need good leaders, but the public in 2007, when Bush went in with the surge, and he gave a great speech about why we needed to do this. He sounds very prescient today, going back and listening to him. He didn't have the people with him. You have to have the people with you from the home front. I don't know if you have to have the people.
I think you have to basically look. President Obama.
We got Obama, Bill.
No.
We got Obama because we didn't have the people.
President Obama had the people with him. You know, until the last 2 years, he was riding pretty high.
They don't want to go back into the Middle East. The people don't want to be involved in a long, protracted war in the Middle East.
We fight it smart. All right? We don't take all the troops out of Afghanistan. We don't take all the troops out of Iraq. We keep some there for stability purposes. Hey, we're still in South Korea. All right? You have to keep them there for...
We are still in South Korea.
And there's a reason we're there.
Bill, I think the only point I'm trying to make is that we have to understand the world as it is today, right? Not the world that we want it to be, where we were nation building, we're the world police, it's Team America, world police. We don't have the money. We don't have the debt levels that are required to create this new utopian, new world order. And the same people, John McCain, who's out there talking about how our border is vulnerable to ISIS, some of us have been talking about the border being vulnerable for like 12 years, when all of them were like, oh, we got to do amnesty, we got to do legalizing all these illegals, we got to do it all at the same time. And what we found is we created a big magnet coming across this border. We don't know who's in this country. And I think the State Department and the Homeland Security Department know darn well that there are people in this country, probably right now, who have great allegiance to the ideas behind ISIS and could very well carry out attacks on the homeland. That's our vulnerability.
But you're almost agreeing with me. We need to have smart tough policies.
Yeah,
don't
but at
have to
home
blanket.
first,
You don't have to
here.
flood the zone. You just have to anticipate problems, and the president now did not, or does not, or will not anticipate problems, and that's why we have.
How about the fact,
I gotta go.
Bill? How about the fact? Yeah, how about the fact that we student visas? We're not even tracking the people coming into the
Should be a
country and
felony,
leaving the country.
a felony for any person to overstay a visa. Felony.
Exactly.
Laura, thank you. Directly ahead.